Welcome back to the beginning, prior to my awakening. I am your host, Mental Stimulant, the Divine Empress. Sit back, relax, and listen to my voice. This is Installment 7. During this season and time when my mom was away, I was just looking for a feeling of being whole. My home was in turmoil and I was incomplete. I was trying to experience life outside of this shelter life I'd known because at this point I hadn't experienced the things the way my peers had. And I wanted to feel equal to them instead of listening to their experiences, sort of living vicariously through them. Every phone call from my mom at this time, she attempted to keep control over me within a 15-minute jail call. I responded the same as always, but knew I had no intention to listen to instructions. How did she think she could punish me over the telephone? Negative. Later that night, a female friend, a female friend of my older brothers, she was substantially older than me. She told me of a party that was in a tough neighborhood. But at that age, I didn't care about that. I just wanted to know if there would be boys there. And she assured me that there were. That's all I needed to hear. I was there. The plan was once my stepfather left the house, I would be right behind him. He didn't give a damn about parental responsibility. After all, he had his own son with him, and he could care less about what happened with me. This is always a common occurrence. This is why I always thought that something was a little off. If I was his child, his daughter, he wouldn't have been so willing to leave me unattended. It was all a lie. I had been lied to for a ridiculous amount of time. So, as I knew, my stepfather did his usual, loaded my little brother into the car, and they were out. I took my time to pick out an outfit which consisted of the tightest pair of jeans I could find, partnered with a belly shirt. After all, I had no stomach, so my little butt was looking super fat. So I knew I would be able to take my pick of the boys sure to be on location. Like my homegirl said, there would be plenty of boys there. When it was time, we linked and proceeded to the spot. Once there, the location was dry. We was told that the fellas were on their way. The only person that was there at the time was the guy that my homegirl was dating. So we listened to music, drank a few beers, and just basically hung out. At this time, I was used to drinking beer. My big brother had gotten me used to the taste of beer early on, but don't judge him. He was giving me experience. I was a sheltered child up until this point. So, needless to say, I was twisted after too long. I had drunk two 40s, yeah, old school 90s vibes, but still no boys that showed up. And needless to say, I was extremely annoyed. I kept asking, where the dudes at? At this point, they knew they couldn't keep telling me that they were on their way, and it had already begun to get late. Not that I had to get home. After all, there was no one there. But I didn't want to be trying to catch the bus all the way back on my side of town, as I would be traveling alone because the old girl flaked on me and decided she wanted to stay the night. So I was on my own. Tipsy, I said, look, I'm gone. She kept telling me, why don't you just stay? I declined. I would not be sitting up under them all night. This move was a total bust. Later that night, I get back home to find my stepfather and brother were not there. Actually, it appeared that they never came back. Everything appeared to be the same as it was left. But the next day, I was sadly mistaken because he did return simply to lock me in the house. There was a deadbolt lock on the door, and he locked that joint, took the key with him, and bounced. The nerve, I thought. I stood at the door and thought, if you don't get back here, who told you you could lock me in this house? Little did I know my mom made an executive decision behind the fence. This was all her doing, in her attempt to show me that she had all the control. Checkmate. Okay, I was defeated. I instantly regretted my movement. I didn't even get felt up or nothing. I was determined from that moment on I would take my L, but I decided to move a little more strategically from this moment forward. I spent my time indoors and just spent the day hanging out alone, which I didn't mind so much because I was always alone since my mom was in. I just was annoyed that I couldn't go outside. All the dudes were outside. My urge to be around boys was at a heightened level, even though I was still a virgin. I had no desire to be any longer. All my peers were humping already, and this led me to feel inadequate around my peers. They would always say, "Dang, you haven't got none yet?" Head down, I would look down, sigh, and respond, "No." After a while, my mom came home after some time, having all her charges dropped, just in time to have my little sister. How she held that kid in all that time under that amount of stress. In fact, I got to the point where my mom was, in fact, it got to the point where she was overdue. My little sister was refusing to come out at all. Evenings, you could find my mom and her husband walking laps around the complex in which we live. My mom was not having my little sister being stubborn or not coming out. I have to say, my mom made a lot of mistakes in life, but she is the epitome of strength. No matter what she was faced with or the snakes that she had surrounding her, she put her head up and handled it like a G. In fact, when I think about it, I never seen my mother cry regardless of what was going on. And I reflect on my grandmother and realize this is whom she got it from. No matter what my grandmother faced, she never let people see her sweat, and never did I see her cry, or I don't recall I did. The way that I view my grandmother handle stuff was she pull up at the liquor store, grab her a fifth of that white, drink in hand, straight no chaser, she stood on it. No men in sight. I come from a long line of strong women who put their entire families on their backs. And they basically did that. It didn't matter what they were faced with. No matter how many times they fell for weak men and found themselves to be disappointed, they still turned the other cheek and continued to show love. I realize why I conduct myself in this manner. Raised and bred from a position of integrity, I pride myself in standing on it. I will always be upright, independent, and fearless. I put all my faith in the Most High. Excuse me. He is the captain of my ship, my compass in murky waters. So no matter what I'm faced, I will be of encouragement. And I put emphasis on no matter because my faith will not waver. I'm a gangster in the eyes of the Most High. And with that comes great responsibility. I have tunnel vision on it, and I'm refocusing my circle. My intuition and discernment is on fleek. So if I'm faced with nonsense, it will be cut down at the knees. But yet, in all this, I'm loving with loyalty at the top of my characteristics. The perfect balancing of energies. Please understand, none of this is my doing. The credit belongs to the Most High. He is worthy. Do good and good will come. We're all a work in progress. But we have to submit to the will of the Most High. When we continue to do things from our own understanding, we will be faced with burdens and obstacles. And as I always say, if your heart is troubled and you need to talk to someone removed from your specific situation where there is no judgment, to possibly just gain a different perspective, please feel free to reach out. Information is in the About section. Healing is here. Love and light. Be blessed.